This right next to me is a Kia Picanto, and it has just received an update for 2024 featuring new technology, new styling and added safety equipment. However, it has received a price rise, and they've also ditched the GT version that featured a turbocharged engine. And many critics say that this new model isn't as good as the old one, but I still think the Picanto is still a very good option amongst its main rivals. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about it. First, we're going to start off with a brief overview about the model range and options. Then we're going to move on to the exterior, its interior, the technology, practicality, the powertrain, and then of course I'm going to drive it. Let's start this video talking about a brief overview about the Picanto. So it has a price range from just over $20,000 going all the way just under 24,000 Australian dollars. And you can get the Picanto into model variants, the Sport and the GT line, along with a choice between an automatic and a manual transmission. And in relation to options, there are 6 colours to pick from. Clear white is a no-cost option, and the other ones are $520. And in relation to the Picanto's main rivals, this is going to go against the new MG3, which is coming to Australia very soon, along with the Fiat 500, which has been on sale for quite some time now, and lastly the Suzuki Ignis, which also has a new model coming sometime next year. Let's now move on to the styling. So as you can see from the front, it has taken inspiration from the Kia EV9, and this example is finished off in adventurous green, and specific to the GT line, it receives full LED lights at the front along with LED DRLs, whilst the base model Sport receives halogen headlights, along with a really bright LED strip up the front, and the front section also receives a GT line bumper. And if we have a look at the Picanto from the side, as you can see, it is 3.6 meters long, and specific to the GT line, it sits on 16-inch alloy wheels, which are a gloss black and machined finish, whereas the base model Sports Grade receives 14-inch alloy wheels. And moving along the side, you have this chrome strip here, along with a gloss black strip on the side skirt, however no privacy glass. And moving towards the rear design of the Picanto, it features an LED light bar at the back, along with rear LED combination lights. However, there are some halogen bulbs for the indicators and reversing lights. And specific to the GT line, it features a gloss black rear diffuser. Let's now move on to the cabin inside the Picanto. So before you climb inside, you have a remote key, however no keyless entry, just central locking, and the key itself slots right into the ignition. So inside the Picanto, nothing has changed since it first went on sale a couple of years ago. So that means there are some durable plastic materials on top of the dashboard, and even on the top surfaces, on the doors, and even when you look lower down. But you do get soft elbow padding along here, along with some piano black materials around the cabin. But for a car in this price point, it still looks and feels pretty good. And in relation to what comes standard on the Sport, it receives cloth seats along with air conditioning, an 8-inch touchscreen display, and a 4.2-inch driver's display, along with a leather wrapped steering wheel and leather gear knob. And stepping up to the GT line, which is the example I am showing you, it features artificial leather seats that are complemented by these grey inserts, and also adds height adjustment for the driver. And you also get a softer to the touch armrest, as well as a flat bottomed sports leather wrapped steering wheel that feels very good to hold, and it offers manual tilt adjustment only. And of course, the driver's seat can be adjusted in 6 different positions. And in relation to technology, it all runs off this 8-inch touchscreen, and using the system, it is pretty easy to work out. You've got physical buttons down here and knobs, including some physical buttons on the steering wheel. And in relation to its key features, it has AM, FM, along with USB integration, including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless. And this is what Apple CarPlay looks like. As you can see, it's pretty responsive and clear. No navigation, but you can use Google Maps and Waze on Apple CarPlay, along with Siri integration for voice control, along with a 6-speaker sound system opposed to 4 speakers like what you get in the Sport. And if we move on to the safety and assistance, there is a reversing camera with parking guidelines, and it also has a rear cross traffic alert. There's also blind spot monitoring on the wing mirrors, a lane departure warning, and a lane keeping assistance, so the Picanto has the ability to steer itself within its lane, along with autonomous emergency braking and a speed limit assistant. And it also has a safe warning assist, so if you open the door and an oncoming car or cyclist is coming alongside you, the car will alert you, so that's a pretty good feature to have in the city. And moving on to the driver's display, it is a 4.2-inch screen, and on either side you have digital instrumentation of your rev counter and speedo, and it's also very configurable in relation to what information you want to see. And lastly, moving on to storage, so the door bin pockets are quite decent. They can also fit a bottle of water, and towards the center you have a small storage section and even some storage underneath the handbrake. And there's also storage along here, so a spot there for a mobile phone, a 12-volt socket, along with a USB and USB-A port. And down the bottom here you can store various items or push these two little buttons and cup holders appear. And lastly, the glove box is a pretty decent size. Okay, let's now move on to the back seats inside the Picanto. So I'm 5'9" and I have this front seat set in my driving position, and as you can see there isn't that much knee room. However, there is a decent amount of toe room and a good amount of headroom as well. And in relation to other key features, there's a single USB-C charging port down the bottom, along with a single mat pocket. And in relation to baby seats, these two outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me there are 3 top tether points. Let's now move on to boot space. So if I just open up the tailgate, as you can see, it reveals a nice wide opening, and in relation to its capacity, it has 255 litres of boot space, and the floor also goes down pretty deep. However, that does mean there is a blow lip on the side here. But in relation to what I've carried over the past week, I've managed to fit a carry-on suitcase, a gym bag, as well as many other loose items that I've carried with me. And on the left-hand side, you will notice there are some shopping bag hooks along with a light. And if you do lift up the floor down the bottom, it reveals a space over spare tyre. And if you drop the second row down, that expands the capacity to just over 1,000 litres. And the seatbelts also clip into these holes to prevent them catching on to the seat. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So all of the Picanto variants remain powered by a 1.2 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine that is matched to either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed torque converter automatic, sending all of its power to the front wheels, putting out 62 kilowatts and 122 newton meters of torque, and all backed up by a 7-year unlimited kilometer warranty. So inside the Kia Picanto, what is it like to drive? Well, first up, visibility. So I can clearly see what's in front of me, decent wing mirrors and good all-round visibility, including decent vision at the back. And in relation to how this feels around town, it's got good steering as well as a good turning circle. It's easy to drive around the city. The gearbox is also very responsive and the brakes seem pretty progressive. And in relation to its power delivery, it feels quick and responsive and quite fun to drive around town, whereas on the freeway, I did take this out to the Southern Highlands, which is about an hour and a half on the motorway, and I did find it started to run out of puff past 100 kilometres, and I did notice that when I was trying to overtake some of the cars in the right-hand lane. So it is a shame that they have gotten rid of the turbocharged engine option, but overall for a city car or even driving around the suburbs, this is a really good alternative, and I think it drives the best amongst its 3 main rivals. And in relation to its fuel consumption, Kia claims the manual variants can achieve 5.2 litres per 100 and 6 litres per 100 for the automatic versions, whereas I have achieved 5.9 litres per 100. And since I last reset the trip computer, I have travelled just under 500 kilometres, so I have done a fair amount of driving in this car. So with the driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So what is my final verdict on the Kia Picanto? Well, I think it looks great, especially this revised version, and also feels good on the inside for a car in this price point. However, no adaptive cruise control, and the engine isn't as punchy as I would like it to be, but I still think amongst its main rivals, the Picanto is the best value package car you can buy in Australia. Especially in GT line form, I think this is the model grade you should go for. So overall, a really good value proposition. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next film. Thank you for watching.